This is the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Marriage Unhindered 2025 edition. That's a little wackadoodle, 2025. I remember when the year 2000 turned over and we were afraid the world was going to come to an end and the computers were going to melt down and everything was going to, right. Here we are 25 years later. Well, welcome to Marriage Unhindered. I'm your host, Doug Hinder, licensed marriage and family therapy, and this is the show where we tackle all things marriage-related. So here we go. So I thought we'd start off, talking about New Year's resolutions, which is a big thing. Everybody makes their New Year's resolutions, and it would be good to have some marriage resolutions. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So number one, and man, I really embrace this. Number one is stay screen-free during meals. So here's what she has to say. This means no phone, no social media, no television, whether eating at home or while dining out. Really hard to do when you're dining out. Some of these restaurants, they got TVs and everything. All right. So she asks, why is this so important? Well, research shows that phubbing, that's P-H-U-B-B-I-N-G, phubbing, which is the act of snubbing someone in a social setting by looking at your phone instead of paying attention, leads to lower levels of relationship satisfaction. Duh. And then she ends by saying, be present, right? So I couldn't agree with this more. And screens are at the heart of an awful lot of marital disharmony. And it comes up an awful lot when I'm meeting with couples and talking about what's going on in their marriage. And the thing about screens, not so much television screens, but the handheld screens, the smartphones, the iPads, is it's very isolating because it's just my eyeballs looking into that screen and no one else can see the screen. No one else can share what it is I'm looking at or what I'm reading. So it really isolates and pushes everybody else in the room off to the side and says, you're really not important. What's important now is the smartphone and what I'm reading here. So a lot of disharmony caused by screens. I would extend this. She says during meals, absolutely, without exception, no, absolutely, 100%, no screens on during meals, period. Leave the phones in an entirely different room, all right? I would add the bedroom to that. I think no screens in bedrooms, no television sets in bedrooms. If nothing else, you lay there watching TV and you don't get your 8 hours of sleep. It's just not a good idea. And I remember I had a couple that I met with a couple years ago, and they came in the one night, and the husband was so angry he could barely even talk. And what had happened was the night before, things were progressing nicely from his perspective, and the wife's phone rang, and she reached over, and it was her boss, and she answered the call. And he waited about 30 seconds, and it was clear that she wasn't going to hang up and, return her attention to him. And he grabbed his pillow and the blanket, and he went to the guest room. And he said about a half hour later, she came and knocked on the door and said, okay, she's done with the boss, and they can, pick up where they left off. He said, well, I can't give you a quote on what he said, but he said, I'm not leaving this room till tomorrow morning, and I'm staying here, and goodbye and good riddance, and I don't ever want to see you again. So, it's like, man, if that phone had been in a different room, or if she had, things that evening could have been something that really pulled them much more closely together as a couple rather than drove a big wedge between them. All right, so screen-free bedrooms as well. All right. And plus, screens just absorb a lot of time, and they're designed specifically to trigger and activate a lot of dopamine. And then once you turn it on, it's really hard to turn it off. All right. So control the screens. And plus, if you've got children, it's such a good example for the children. Mom and dad really restrict the amount of time they spend on their screens. And, if you want an eye-opening experience, go out to the settings on your app and look at how much time you actually spend out there in the various apps. And you will be surprised at how many hours you spend there every single week. All right. So number 2, according to our blogger, April Eldemeyer, schedule a weekly date. So here she says it's easy to let a busy schedule take over your life. Amen to that. Couples who make time for quality time with each other create wonderful opportunities to bond. Plan for major holidays as well as new and novel activities, trips to museums or new restaurants, sporting events, day hikes, etc. So I think it's a great idea, of course. It's wonderful Marriage 101 kinds of stuff, a weekly date night. But most people do the date night wrong. Most people do the date night as a logistics planning session. So who's picking this kid up from piano lessons, and who's taking this one to soccer, and who's grabbing the dry cleaning, who's going to swing past the grocery store. And it's not about logistics. I do that on Saturday morning or some other time. Date night is about the two of you deepening your friendship, deepening your connection, affirming each other, praising each other, sitting there talking about what it is you really love about your spouse, why you feel so blessed that God has brought your spouse into your life. Make a list of what you really like about your spouse and share the list. Find something to compliment. Hold hands. Look into each other's eyes. Play footsie under the table, whatever. But the date night is about carving out 2 hours for you and me as though nothing else in the world exists. Nothing. Just the two of us. Doesn't have to be a big, expensive, dinner at a fancy restaurant. I think that's fine if you can afford it and you want to build it in the budget every once in a while. That's great. But it could be a walk in the park. It could be, fast food, right? It could be a dessert somewhere. My wife and I used to go get a piece of pie from time to time, and that was pretty special too, right? So the weekly date night, really important to carve out time just for the two of you to deepen your friendship relationship. It's not about the kids. It's not about what the kids need, how to discipline, how to raise them, it's not about any of that stuff. It's about you and me. We're the only two human beings on the planet, and we're going to take this time to fall more deeply in love, kind of like we did when we were dating. All right? Control the screens, schedule date night. I think that's pretty good. And the third one that this blogster has is plan a vacation. Research shows that planning a vacation brings as much joy, if not more, than the actual vacation itself. So the whole activity planning and sharing ideas, where are we going to go, what are we going to do, all that kind of stuff. Right? And preparing for a trip requires cooperation, saving, and creativity. I get all of that, and I think that's fine. But listen, a vacation is not going to fix something that's broken. And I can't tell you how many times I work with a couple and they planned a nice getaway, tropical island or a resort somewhere or a beach somewhere or, whatever. And they come back and say, we had a wonderful time. We connected, we bonded, we had romantic dinners and it was terrific. And then 3 days later, they're back to fighting just the way they did before. Right? So yeah, a vacation is good, but it's not going to fix anything. And do it. It's great. It's like, you need to get away. And I certainly think it's a good thing, but don't look at it as a solution. Look at it as what it is. Just a vacation to get away from the drudgeries of everyday life. All right. All right. So now she comes up with volunteer together. So go volunteer about something. Working together to serve others is a powerful bonding exercise. Yeah, I agree with that. Sets a good example for children as well. So I would expand this beyond just volunteer together. I mean, to just pursue any common interest you have. I don't know, because it deepens friendship, which is one of the four loves, love of friendship. So, tennis. I don't take tennis lessons together or dancing lessons together or art classes together or learn how to play pickleball or go bowling or, I don't care what it is. But spending time together doing something that you both enjoy is a really good idea because it deepens friendship. And anything you can do to deepen your friendship is good. And then she says her last one is read books together. Yeah, I think that's fine too. If you want to read books together, if you have the same interest in books, great. If you don't, well, that's not going to do you a whole lot of good then. But so I think, but if you enjoy reading books together, that could be a good idea. All right. So here's my suggestion. Here's what Marriage Unhindered suggests for a New Year's resolution. I have one that I will share with you. And one is to commit to making a daily 1% investment in your marriage. 1% a day you're going to carve out and set aside just for the two of you to connect as friends and lovers and people who actually have an interest in each other, where you're going to get to know each other better, talk about what's going on in each other's world. Now, what is 1% of 24 hours? It's about 15 minutes. So that's my advice. If you're looking for a good New Year's resolution that will really pay large dividends in your marriage, carve out time every single day, 15 minutes. If you can't do 15, do 10. If you can't do 10, do 5, but shoot for 15. Just the two of us. No screens. No, you put some music on if you want. I'm good with that. Light a candle if you want. I'm good with that. But it's just the two of us, as though we're the only two people on the planet. And this is where I get to know you at a deeper level. We talk more about what's going on in your inner world, what you're excited about, what you're happy about, what you're afraid of, what you need, what's going on, right? This is where you make a list of what you appreciate and like about your spouse, and you share some of the things on that list. This is where I just am going to spend 15 minutes every day just loving on you like you're the only person on the planet. Now, of all the things that I've asked my couples to do over the years, this, by far and away, has been the hardest thing. Couple after couple after couple come back week after week after week and say, yeah, we just couldn't find the time. Oh, we did it once. It was great. Never did it again. It's hard. And this is, I mean, I get it if you got small children. Man, by the time the kids are in bed, you're exhausted. All you want to do is go to bed, too. It's really tough then. But I have found couples who don't have children yet or are empty nesters still have a hard time figuring this one out. So if you're looking for a good New Year's resolution that's really going to test you, push you, but pay really great dividends, that's it. 1% daily investment in your marriage every single day. All right, so there you have it. Set up some New Year's resolutions. Invest in your marriage. Don't leave a good marriage to chance. Come up with a plan. Work the plan. Schedule it in. 1% daily investment. What else you talked about? Control the screens. Big. I'll bring that in second place. Schedule a weekly date night. That's important, too. Take a vacation if you want to. Volunteer together. Read some books together. But there you go. This entire episode of Marriage Unhindered is on the updated Relevant Radio app. The Relevant Radio app is completely free and updated daily with fresh articles, podcasts, and prayers.